Peace. How's it going? Patrick, Conservative Rap. Thanks for taking a listen. And in this video, we are going to get into some economic and financial news. Trump, if you've noticed, is really controlling the agenda. We're going to tap into this, but he's exposing the climate hoax. And justice for criminals is good, but economic freedom, I think, is more paramount and more urgent. We've really been held back as a country. And whether it's Greta Thunberg, Bill Gates, they all know the jig is up. Let's take a quick look at some truth posts, and then we'll get into some news as to this concept. Here's Trump on Truth. I just won the war on the climate change hoax. Bill Gates has finally admitted, I never thought I'd see the day, that he was completely wrong on the issue. It took courage to do so, and for that, we are grateful. Make America great again. Secondly, he also posts, this is just going to be, let's go over to what he's actually referencing from The Guardian. Let's take a quick look. Screen. Share. Bill Gates says climate crisis won't cause humanity's demise and calls to shift focus to improving lives. Billionaire's statement comes a day after the UN said humanity missed 1.5 C climate change target and warned of devastation. Bill Gates has called for a strategic pivot in the effort against climate change, writing that the world should shift away from trying to limit rising temperatures and instead focus on efforts to prevent disease and poverty. Writing on his Gates Notes website, the billionaire Microsoft co-founder criticized what he described as a doomsday view of climate change, which is focusing too much on near-term emission goals. Gates' memo comes a day after UN said humanity had missed its target of limiting global heat to 1.5 Celsius within the UN Secretary General warning of devastating consequences for the world. In the note on Monday, Gates said, although climate change will have serious consequences, particularly for people in the poorest countries, it will not lead to humanity's demise. People will be able to live and thrive in most places on Earth for the foreseeable future. He said the COP30 climate summit, which will bring together world leaders in Brazilian rainforest city of Belém in November, was a chance to refocus on the metric that should count even more than emissions and temperature change, improving lives. Although climate change will hurt poor people more than anyone else, for the vast majority of them, it will not be the only or even the biggest threat to their lives and welfare. The biggest problems are poverty and disease, just as they've always been. Understanding this will let us focus our limiting resources on interventions that will have the greatest impact for the most vulnerable people. Gates' viewpoint is at odds with that of the UN Secretary General Guterres, who on Monday told The Guardian and the Amazon-based news organization Sumosomo that it was time to recognize our failure in the climate crisis. The truth is that we failed in overshooting above 1.5 C in the next few years, and that going above 1.5 C has devastating consequences, blah, blah, blah. Amazon, Greenland, Western Antarctica, or the coral reefs. He added it's absolutely indispensable. And this is more nonsense about their agenda. But again, just going to show you that it's a new day and age. Also, on the economic forefront, you might have caught this. South Korea has agreed to pay the USA $350 billion for lowering of the tariffs charged against them by the U.S. Additionally, they have agreed to buy our oil and gas in vast quantities. Add investments into our country by wealthy South Korean companies and businessmen will exceed $600 billion. Our military alliance is stronger than ever before, and based on that, I have given them approval to build a nuclear-powered submarine rather than the old-fashioned and far less nimble diesel-powered submarines than they have now. A great trip with a great president of South Korea. Again, and here we see China, Korea, a lot of people coming into the fold. Here's more from the news. Our farmers will be happy. Trump thanks Xi for nod to purchase of soybeans and other farm products. U.S. President Donald Trump on Thursday expressed gratitude to China's Xi Jinping for authorizing China to begin purchase of massive amounts of soybeans, sorghum, and other farm products. After his first meeting with Xi since 2019, Trump said there's enormous respect between the U.S. and China, which has been engaged in a trade war. In a truth post on social, Trump said Xi and him agreed on many things with others even of high importance, being very close to being resolved. He's extremely honored by Xi Jinping on his purchase. Said that once during my first administration, farmers should immediately go out and buy more land and larger tractors. I'd like to thank President Xi for this, he wrote. And lastly, just more on the green agenda. This is from Red State. GM to lay off thousands of EV workers after green energy subsidy ends. Ronald Reagan was known for a typically cogent observation about government. Government's view of the economy could be summed up in a few short phases. If it moves, tax it. If it moves in, regulate it. And if it stops moving, subsidize it. As so often the case, he was right. He didn't likely foresee the onset of electric vehicles and climate goals, touting to them to prevent the planet from catching on fire. Those were subsidized before they ever moved in the first place. But those subsidies are gone now, and so a bunch of people who worked on vehicles and batteries are finding themselves out of work. And again, it's not a capitalist economy if we're subsidizing entire industries. If people want to go out and buy electric vehicles, sure thing, let them do that. But why are we subsidizing an industry that doesn't have natural demand? It doesn't make any sense. So this is just a few clips to show the path being taken. Central bankers are struggling to keep control of the narrative. America has leverage because we're the consumers globally. And each day you see them losing power. Soon we're going to be talking about interrupting the funding for the Federal Reserve. And just like you had Kennedy releasing the silver certificate, even way back to Ronald Reagan, he talked about auditing Fort Knox. Trump is instead using a tariff system to create a parallel economy, and other countries are going to just follow suit. What do you think? Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share, and check me out at ConservativeRap.com for more. Thanks and take care.